Good evening and welcome to the September 9th, 2025 board meeting. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mike, would you lead us today?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we have a moment of silence, remember the young lady killed in South Carolina senselessly, all those victims of these senseless crimes. We also, as we think about that, think about our first responders that put themselves out there every day, and our military that are out there fighting to protect our rights and freedoms. Thank you. Introductions to my right.
Good evening, Diana Quast, Town Clerk.
Good evening, Luciana Howitt, Councilwoman.
Supervisor Ed Lachterman.
Sergio Esposito, Deputy Supervisor.
Good evening, Patrick Murphy, Town Council.
Good evening, Susan Siegel, Councilwoman.
Good evening, Adam Rodriguez, Town Attorney.
All right. And today we have Beardsley Architects and Engineers with a presentation to discuss where we are on our Field Home RFP.
And I just want to let everyone know out there that the Teen Center is open on Friday. And I did post it on my personal page, and I know it's on the town page. So register your kids. There will be pizza and games and community fun.
Thank you for reminding us about that. And also, at the end of the agenda today, for the discussions, we will be talking about the recreation fee law. Okay. So, go right ahead.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Pete Veal. I'm with Beardsley Architects and Engineers. And tonight we want to present to you our progress on the historic field home project. As you can see from this schedule, we're probably about 2/3 of the way in. We will be presenting to you at the end of this schedule in probably mid-October-ish to give you the final, our conclusions and recommendations. The objective tonight was just to give you a bit of a sense of the direction we're going, kind of a progress check. I also understand I have about 15 minutes or so, so I'm going to flip through a lot of slides very quickly that were the result of planning efforts from the past month or so with John Tegeter and his team. So just looking at the site, again, the program here is to redevelop adaptive reuse of the building as both a historic hotel and a event center. So looking at the site itself, you can see this is the front with the pediment and the large columns, and that naturally wants to be the main entrance to the hotel. So we would situate hotel parking down here. We need about 40 some odd spaces, and the main entrance would be there. The event center we would foresee in the chapel area, which is over where I'm showing the cursor. And so we would see event parking over here as well, and the event people coming from this side. It's conceivable that there may be a full-blown event going while the hotel is being occupied by other users, or there could be both. The idea is flexibility. So one of the first things that we came across, one of our constraints, I'll cover this very quickly because I think we solved it, was the southern side, which is close to the assisted living. If we had a 20-foot fire lane here and respecting the existing property line here, you can see it starts to get very tight up against the building. And here's what that kind of looks like in 3 dimensions. You can see it just gets very tight, and it's not a very happy experience for pedestrians or arrival. So again, that's what it looks like. So what we've decided to do here is actually turn this into a single lane, 12-foot controlled access, so there would be bollards or a gate so that would control the people who, or the vehicles that come in here. It's only 12 feet. It would be with decorative pavers so that it has a nice appeal, and there could be drop-off there for an event, or there could be handicap parking. But again, it's an effort to kind of make this a little more amenable to visitors. And this is what that would look like in 3D. Here you can see it's a little more generous. It makes a little better sense for the arrival of people to both the events and the hotel. So the second constraint we had was more of an issue, and this one you may be aware of with respect to our proposal for the property line adjustment. This is what we were dealing with back in July. This yellow line is what was proposed at the time. You can see it's angling down, and there again, there's that 20-foot fire lane, and it gets very tight up against there. And you can see here what that looks like in 3D as well, very tight. So what we proposed was to change the property line from the yellow, straighten it out, and move it up so that it gives us a little more space here. We know that they need 40 feet from any of their structures to a secondary internal road. And so that's what we're proposing here. Now, John and his team did take this to Toll Brothers, and apparently they were amenable to that change in geometry and location. However, they did not want to do what we had proposed, which is to run the property line right down the middle of the road so we can get as much space as possible. They are proposing instead to have the road in its entirety on our side, which means we lose 10 feet. And let me show you roughly one of our concerns. This is looking out from the main building into this wonderful lawn and trees. That's where the Toll Brothers are going to be. That's the view shed, which is greatly impacted, and it definitely affects. There again, there's the inside. You can see as you look through. That's the view you see, and that's where the Toll Brothers will be. So one of the things we're proposing is here you can see in red. This would be our new property line here, and we propose sharing it 10 feet on each side. That would give us that much of a green buffer to put in landscaping so that we can mitigate the view down to the houses with the Toll Brothers. I want to just share with you one other idea that we're looking at here. Apologize, I don't have this in the slides, so I'm just going to show you in a model. This is basically the existing structure, the field home. You may recognize it has these open porches. And one of the things we're proposing to do, because of the issue with the view shed over to Toll Brothers, is actually, let me turn something on here. We're actually proposing to enclose those porches, so they're four-season porches. But we're also adding this additional outside porch for the good weather, and we're starting to orient the direction and the orientation of this building to this interior courtyard. That's showing an events tent if you needed it. That is about 100 some odd guests. So we think this is very important to preserve. And in order for us to do that, we need this amount of space here. That's why we're proposing very strongly that we share that road down with the property line down the middle.
Pete, is Toll Brothers, are they amenable to an easement for that road? Or they just want you to have it on your property?
John, do you want to respond on that?
Well, you want to share the road. You want to have half the road on.
They want it, but Toll Brothers.
Just very quickly, the discussions, which are really initial discussions for the most part, we've discussed it a couple of times, but they don't want the road any closer than the lot line that they've agreed to. So they are, their decision is that they wish to have the road on fully what will be the field home property
Gotcha.
with that lot line change, of course. So that's where they are with that.
But they are giving us the land for, they're moving the lot line so we could fit the road.
Yeah, it's a subdivision, so we're,
Yeah.
you know,
we're
we always
adjusting
knew
it.
that the lot line would need to be looked at a little bit more closely during the subdivision process.
How do you handle the responsibility of the road if it sits between the two properties?
That was one of their concerns last night.
No.
Well,
Is it?
yeah, well, one way would be that there's an easement that is a maintenance agreement and easement that puts the burden for maintenance on the field home owner and operator. So, that's one way.
Does it become an insurance issue? Well, you're not
I'm
really
not
sure.
in the insurance industry, I wouldn't be able to tell you that.
Yeah.
Toll Brothers concern maintenance?
They were concerned about
They're
liability.
concerned, I think, would be concerned with maintenance, of course. Their focus revolves around their marketing of the new property.
Yeah. Okay.
I think they felt that when the road gets closer to their townhouses, that they're gonna have difficulty marketing the townhouses. So
Yeah.
that's why by shifting it basically to the left, it gets closer to the townhouses.
And
That was their concern.
I would argue that that concern affects essentially two townhouses. That this would essentially affect two townhouses, only the ones that are immediately adjacent. Whereas our concern affects the entire operation and the look and feel. So what we're asking is for an equitable split of that land between both buildings, essentially down the middle, 40 feet on either side.
If you take away the visibility issue, the aesthetics, and if you agree in concept to the road, why couldn't the lot line just be at the left-hand side of the road, so it's like all field home, and you don't have the maintenance problem?
That's a great idea, Councilwoman. So in other words, where I'm showing, here I gotta get back into my laser pointer. Where we're showing the, property line going down the middle of the road, if we simply shifted the property line there, so that row is entirely on our side, but we're not changing the location of that buildings at all. It's just moving the property line 10 feet over. It still gives them their 40 feet that they need. So I think that might be a solution that we can try and take forward with that.
So that's in addition to the line that they've already agreed to redraw?
That would be, yeah.
Addition, an additional 10 feet.
That would be going back to them and saying, well, if you don't want to do this, we would propose moving the property line. Instead of having it shared down the middle, we would move it over here.
I think they also raised liability concerns about the road being on their side of the fence, so to speak.
Right.
So, which I thought was more of a legitimate concern than some of the other ones they expressed. But you know, I think that was something. So maybe John can speak to them about that. I don't know. You know.
Well, to me, the fundamental issue is how important is that road to any future reuse of the field home? Because if you can't get that road, then you have the other traffic problems and you have the fire lane problems, and then that would seriously hamper whether it's this proposed hotel use or any other use. You might still have the same problem if you don't have the ability to have that rear road.
We will need that road wherever it winds up being as a fire lane.
Yeah.
We get some relief when we go sprinkler. We're fully sprinklered, but the fire apparatus has to be within 450 feet of any point in the building. So you don't necessarily have to have a complete circle around the building, but you kind of have to have a fair amount. So And obviously, safety is our primary concern, so.
Of course.
Point taken.
Is it optional, like you did in option one, do a one-way around, or is that?
Well,
I
this
know
is
it's a different
also-
use.
This is, and I'll let me show you what
Okay.
this looks like in. So that's what this begins to look like if we're able to straighten out that road. And you can see it's a pretty major road. It serves all of the event parking, and it also connects to this service road that's behind the existing assisted living facility. Lets them come around and use this road. So it's an important road. Whereas this earlier one I was talking about, that one-way controlled, doesn't need to be, it's not as critical for circulation. So I think we can advance some of that thinking in our discussions with Toll Brothers moving forward. Wanted to just cover a couple of quick ideas. One is we're trying to up our key count for the financial feasibility. The more keys we can get, the better and more attractive this is going to be. Right now, let me just show you kind of what we're thinking about. This grand lawn in the front, we would probably want to put some kind of attraction, a gazebo, a pavilion, maybe a year-round pavilion. If there are going to be weddings there, they'll need a photo opportunity kind of a situation. And we are looking at the idea of, could we put some new construction guest rooms, small scale guest rooms out here to up the key count. And this would show you we're not suggesting this as design per se, but this gives you a sense of the scale and the massing. If we put 6 new guest rooms, 400 square foot each, this is essentially what it might look like in terms of massing. This is from the other side with parking. We did a whole series of explorations. I throw this up there. This is our consultant, our hospitality development consultant, who, when we said, how do you feel about us upping the key count? You can see right there, this shows how the cash-on-cash return on investment improves considerably. He gave us it's hard to read this, but you can see the cash-on-cash increases from 25% to 31% to 36% as you incrementally increase the number of keys. So it does make it more attractive for us. So we looked at a 2-story option. We looked at several options. Really more just exploring. We won't go through all these with you, but we do believe that it is important to potentially add some new structures here.
Can you explain in the main house, how many units you're projecting in the main house, and then how many you would have to add in ancillary buildings? And is there a minimum count that you feel is feasible? Obviously, adding more might make it more desirable, but what is the minimum amount?
We've seen highly successful boutique hotels in the Hudson Valley, literally in the teens, 18, 19 keys. But generally, they like to see it 30, 40, and up, ideally. But everyone's different. So right now, we looked at the field home itself. It lends itself very nicely to conversion to these rooms, which I'll show you in a moment. But we were kind of, when we first started out, we thought we might be able to get some rooms in the basement because the basement had half windows. We really tried and pulled our hair out, but it's not happy down there to be putting guests. So, we went from 29 to 21. But we were able to get 2 more upstairs, so we're probably 6 less than what we started out. That's why we thought it would be good. And by the way, these possibilities for additions out there, we would include in our developer's prospectus as just options for them. We're saying if you want to up your key count, if you feel that really helps out your business model, here's some ideas that we've looked at. But the basic building itself at 21 keys is viable if you want to continue down that path. So that's, and this is kind of, I think, where we are, this idea of maybe 5 rooms rooms here and 5 rooms here, kind of symmetrical along this axis. It's a little more formal. It's a little more simpatico with the feel and the geometry of the Greek Revival front. Want to very quickly just mention what in the space planning itself, basement rooms, we couldn't quite make. We were still looking for a good kind of bar lounge area, and we did have some issues with some of the grades. If you've been in the building, you see at some point you jump up about 2.5 feet, 2.5 feet down. So I'll just flip through these. These were not really viable. This was what we thought could be a bar, not quite big enough, so we've got some options there. And these are all the various grade changes. We've got a solution for that. So this is hard to see, but what this is showing is there is a couple of red walls, if you can see it. That's indicating that we're not really demolishing many walls at all. We're working with the existing walls as best we can. And this is what the new floor plan would look like. This is the front of the building. This is the restaurant area. This is check-in. These are some guest suites here. This would be the bridal suite or VIP if it's a corporate event. This is the chapel, so this would be the main event. And this would be the pre-event and refreshment. And we're just showing again a tent for just for scale. And upstairs, these convert very nicely. The small 100 square foot, we put 3 of them together, and we've got a 300 plus square foot guest room. So I'm going to quickly go through these to get to one last thing. This is the basement. The basement works out well for us in terms of catering. We are proposing to put in a brand new elevator here, a 3-stop elevator that does a couple of things. It allows us to have all of the cooking and catering and food down in the basement.
So it's like a bigger dummy waiter?
Yeah, it's a big dumbwaiter. It also allows, because we want to reuse the space in multiple ways, so we're going to be moving furniture around, a lot of different tables and chairs. This is that as well. Plus, the way we have it, where we have it, it serves as an ADA elevator too, so it's fully accessible, all levels of the space, which is important. That means that contraption that's out in front right now can go away. So one of the last things I want to share with you is this idea. This is the base plan right here, which is all the existing building. We're actually, we see a little bit of a choke point right here when you say there's a large event and you're through and you want to get over here to the pre-event or post-event space. So what we're actually looking at is adding what we're calling a multi-function room. So this would be new construction, but added next to and adjacent to the building itself. It's about 2,000 square feet. And here you can see what we would do. We would open up one side of the chapel, and so you can come in and out, and now it will be the event space. And this is this large space here, which also has stairs now up to the pre-event. So it gives you maximum flexibility. You can be having an event in here while you're setting up in here, and it just allows for a very smooth flow. And 3-dimensionally, this is kind of what it might look like. This is the what was the chapel, or would be the event space. That's the wall that we would open up, and you can see beyond. Excuse me. You see beyond what the multi-function space would be. There you can kind of see it again. You're in the main event space, and that main event space, right now, with the if you take the existing pews, it seats about 180 people, so that'll give you a sense. And here again, you're looking at, now here you're kind of getting into that space, and you can see we're trying to keep it very open and airy. The reason why these columns are standing out about 6 feet from the wall, we would design this such that it supports itself, and we don't have to rely on the existing building to do any structural heavy lifting. So we're not touching the building for any structural purposes. So again, a couple of other images of what this multi-purpose space might look like and feel like. And the other great thing about this is it gives us now our own events, dedicated events entrance here to the south or to the east, instead of having to go all the way around. And we think that's pretty important. This is what it would look like on the exterior. Again, just to give you a sense, and I leave you with an email today from our consultant, our hospitality consultant, Isidro. Proposed multifunction effectively addresses this issue, significantly enhancing guest circulation and overall experience. Design empowers event organizers to prioritize functionality without compromise, thereby strengthening the project's market position. The investment in this addition represents a strategic enhancement to the venue's viability. All of this with an eye towards, let's get the best possible thing we can in front of a developer who may see this as, hey, we think that's worth it. If that's $800,000, they'll look at it and they'll say, or if it's less or more, they'll say, we think it's worth it. So that's kind of the direction we're going. Hope we kept it at 15. So with that.
What additional information do you anticipate providing us by, October?
To be honest, we've covered what I would call kind of the big rocks, and now it's about refinement. It's about proof of concept, making sure, hey, these things work. We went through a whole number of site options. We want to reduce those to about 2 or 3, a manageable number, so that we can put an estimate to it. So when we come to you, we're going to have a refined design with 2 or 3 options. We'll have this multifunction as an option as well, and we'll have costs associated with it. We'll have costs for the entire project as well as costs for the options.
Have you looked at the amount of interior structural work and HVAC systems and all of that has to be done, taking away potential asbestos and all that nitty-gritty kind of stuff that's behind the scenes, and what the potential costs for that, what would be involved in that?
Yes, we have. In fact, that's part of our remit. We owe you a kind of a standalone building condition assessment we call BCA, which shows structure, MEP, all of those, electric, and you'll see that. The bottom line is there's very little mechanically that is worth salvaging. It's pretty much all new, and that's good. That means high efficiency. It means lesser unknowns. We thought we might be able to save the existing sprinkler system, but it's just a little too old. So we're coming in with new sprinkler system, and the good thing there is the old sprinkler system was back when they hung them down and you could see all the pipes. Now with recessed sprinkler heads, it'd be much cleaner and much more amenable. So structurally, we did see a little bit of an issue that we're addressing. Not a showstopper by any means. There's one, the span in the chapel, about 32 feet, and the wood beams there are sagging a little bit. And not enough that it presents a safety hazard, but visually it's a little, some people don't like to actually see that sag. So we're looking at that. But I was just through the building today again, and a lot of it is what I would call almost cosmetic upgrade. It's all patch repair, repaint. So the building is in good condition.
So the bones of the building's in good shape.
Yep.
My other question is, I know you're working with a hospitality consultant. In your October report, will you give us an assessment about the marketability of this kind of facility?
Yes.
Because that's the key. You can show us a nice concept of what it could look like, but from our point of view, we have to find somebody who is willing to actually develop that and who is going to be able to make a profit out of it. And so we need that kind of information.
We're going to show you a project pro forma, which folds in all of the costs, all of the expected revenue streams, both from the hotel plus the events. We'll look at all the things that go along with the pro forma, and basically test that against what we see. We're looking closely at the market right now, and not only in terms of the hospitality and what might be good demand there, but we're also looking on the event side for possible large, for example, the IBM Watson Center is so close. We think that might be an opportunity to reach out and see if we couldn't get some demand from there. If they were shown a very nearby, very amenable kind of a corporate retreat space for them, would that be of interest? And that would fall into our phase 2 of this exercise if you want to continue with it, where we would go out and take this document, this prospectus, and talk to the Watson Center. We would talk with hotel operators and see if, to gauge interest.
John, perhaps you can kind of give us a what's next step because of this lot line issue and how that's going to work out with the planning board, which Toll Brothers is anxious to move ahead and get site plan approval, but the town board isn't ready and won't be ready until, let's say, into November, December to make any kind of decision once you give us your final report and we've had a chance to digest it.
I don't know, Susan, if we hold up site plan approval for this, if we know what the bones of what we want to do are. If we know if there's a solution for the road, there's a solution for the road. If there's not, that's a conversation, and I think that, John, you and I probably need to, take a look at this on a map so I could sort of physically understand it and have a conversation.
Well, it's very interrelated because the site plan approval involves the subdivision, which is the critical lot line.
Yes.
And
It's interrelated,
it's
yes.
very interrelated, and the question of the timing becomes an issue.
Timing's always an issue. The planning board is working through this as we speak. They worked on it last night. They had discussion with Toll Brothers about it last night and even before. I think we'll probably get Beardsley and Toll Brothers in the same room at some point, but we're working through that. So our hope is to get to a point where, and I believe their Beardsley hotel consultant, resorts consultant, will be doing some, correct me if I'm wrong, some preliminary market work in terms of going out to a few people and gauging what their comments and interests might be. Not necessarily laying out a prospectus quite yet, but so I think that information, which should, I think, come along in mid-October, so will give you a good idea of where this will be going or what you can do with it.
Just one other question. You mentioned a restaurant. Do you have some idea in terms of number of seats? What size restaurant we're talking about?
Well, that restaurant is the all-day dining, primarily for the hotel. It's about 60 plates right now.
Would that be open to the public for dinners?
Could be, absolutely. And the other thing, we talk about demand drivers. I can see with all of the assisted living and care facilities are so close by, if I would imagine if visiting families knew that there was a hotel there and a restaurant, that they may, it may get some demand, some business from there.
Yeah, there's,
Yeah. The one thing we'd like to, if we're successful and at the end of this exercise come towards the end of October, we show you where we are. If you're happy with what you see, then we think that maybe a nice and effective thing to have in this prospectus that we then take out to the development community is a letter from the board that we would draft for you, which effectively says we endorse this project in terms of zoning approval for a change of use as a hotel. We approve it in principle. We're not, we approve in principle, and we look forward to working with, the right partner in this, project moving forward. And the reason why is so many developers get really hesitant when they don't know what the, you know, the
Temperature.
approval process. And if they see that you are a friendly group, I think that will go a long way towards finding the right developer.
That's a good point. It just struck me as the board knows, because we reviewed the RFP and this was done as appropriately in an executive session, we narrowed it down to this boutique hotel as basically the only viable option. Perhaps, John, you might talk, or Ed, if you want to say what else we looked at and how we got to this point, and what else was looked at and said, nah, that's not going to work.
The other options were things along the lines of like work-live units, which is residential units in which you also have your office in there, or you're a jewelry artist and you have your studio in there, things like that. And I think there was 2 or 3 options that were talked about, which were similar one to another from that. So it was really as a residential. I think one of the other ones was some type of office park or building. That was during the rezoning process when Toll Brothers did an adaptive reuse study of the building, which is a valuable tool. And as you recall, our historic consultant looked at it and made some other suggestions, namely the use of the event space, and mentioned also the potential of a hotel use. When we went out to do RFPs, we received, several responses. Beardsley's response had the most kind of viable view of where you can take this. It's on the hotel track, but it looked at some financials and it made a preliminary evaluation that it looks to us, given architectural needs, site planning needs, financial needs, that there's potential here for a hotel. And that's why these were selected. I don't think necessarily that it was, we want to have a hotel. I don't think it was. We're looking for an adaptive reuse that's viable and achievable. This one in their proposal seemed to be the most well thought out and achievable, with the potential to be achievable use.
And in theory, it seems to be a use that fits into the area. Hudson, being in the Hudson Valley, being close to
Yes.
transportation, being close to different activities. So.
Right. And if you think of this building as a hotel or an office use, I think you immediately say, I'd like to stay there if it's a hotel. I wouldn't see myself wanting to rent an office there if I'm a professional or something because of the design of it or anything.
Right.
So.
And also, some developers took a look or considered it for housing, and it turned out not to be viable for 100% housing.
That for that particular
Yeah.
group's formula of how they produce housing.
Yeah, it just
I
wasn't
wanna
economically viable.
give that a caveat, yeah.
So that was also kind of initially looked at and dismissed as not being viable. So the hotel was the one that was the most thought out type of proposal
God
that
bless.
had.
Gave us the most to bite into, yes.
Yeah.
There was one other component, which was if you did take it to residential, there would be quite a bit of construction and demolition and reconfiguration for code reasons, for basic design reasons. So quite a bit of the original historic structure would have to be altered. This particular use is really preserves as much of the architecture as you can.
It's embracing it.
Yes, it is. And by the way, a comment that you folks had made at one of our earlier sessions was, well, okay, this is an interesting idea, but what if we find a developer who comes along and says, I really like this, I like the whole idea, I like the site, I like the building, but I actually have a slightly different vision. I'd like to kind of take it in that direction, or maybe this is a starting point, they want to do something slightly different. Then we say, great, wherever it goes, if this starts the conversation and gets that kind of enlightened developer to the table, then we're ahead.
Good, thank you.
When you're ready, Peter, to sort of try to float it out there, let me know so we have some good contacts with the Business Council of Westchester and the Hudson Valley Gateway Chamber. We can, get a little creative juices flowing there for some possible people that may be interested, especially on the hotel side.
Great.
Thank you. Look forward to your October report.
Thank you, gentlemen. Safe ride back. All right, we are going to now move to Section 8, our discussion on funding. Janelle, you want to come up too, or?
Thank you.
Our Sandrine.
Hi.
Hi, so,
Why don't you introduce yourself for the population on
So-
TV?
hello, Sandrine Singh, Director of the Town of Yorktown Rental Housing Program. Good, good. Okay, so we're having some funding issues, and I wanted to first explain how we get funds that come from the federal government. We have two pots. One of the funds is called the HAP Fund, which is strictly reserved for rents. Those are just to pay the rent amounts of the people on Section 8. The second fund is the Administrative Fees Fund, which helps us with all our other expenses. So the more units we can rent using the HAP Fund, the more money we have in our Administrative Fee Fund. So when I took over in 2021, we had 116 vouchers. Up to last year, I brought them up to 134 total vouchers. We used to have agencies in New York City who would absorb some of our clients when they decided they no longer wanted to live in the area. A couple of years ago, they decided not to absorb them anymore. So when the people move there, we have to continue paying for their vouchers. So that is currently an issue. So in 2021, we had 12 poured out vouchers, and now we have, or last year we had 22. We have to wait to the end of this year to see how many are we gonna have. But so after I added 18 vouchers, we had an extra 10 that were taken away from us. Working hard, but paying the price too. So out of the 128 vouchers that we had, 62 of them, 62 voucher holders actually live in Yorktown proper. That's 75 people in total. So the people that we help, we don't only help them with housing or finding a unit. They come to the office if they have any other paperwork they want to fill out. They call, they get an answer right away. Sometimes we do home visits because we have a lot of elderly and disabled families. Sometimes they can't navigate all the paperwork, all the offices, so we have to go directly to them. I do drive a lot to their homes. I assist in job search and things of that nature. Also for people who have families that are away from here, I stay in touch with the families, let them know how their loved ones are doing right here. So those are all some of the services that are provided. But due to the high cost of health insurance, the administrative fees that are coming from the federal government are making it hard to pay for all our expenses. After discussions with Ed and also with Janelle, we decided that we had to come to you to figure out what solutions we can find for that. And that's why I'm here.
I'm sorry, the medical cost, is the town absorbing that?
No, that's been paid from the HUD fund.
So right now, or let's say before, because I'm assuming that HUD had some cuts, were there any town funds supporting this program?
Up to this point, no.
All right, but because of the HUD cuts,
Actually, Susan, it's not because of the HUD cuts. It's because of the people that are able to use the voucher that we're paying for that are living in other communities. And on top of that, we lose the, not only do we have to pay that voucher, we have to pay the community that they're living in part of the administration fees since they are administering the program. So what's happening is where our money is being leached away by a broken HUD system that is not allowing for people to move and for that voucher to move with them. So Yorktown ends up on the hook for it until we cut programming. And then once we cut programming, we cut we get less in administrative fees, so it's a snake eating its own tail. But this has nothing to do with any cuts more than it has to do with the fact that the system is working against us.
Sandrine, correct me
So
if
a
I'm...
lot of the fees are going to other agencies because we have to give them a portion of what we receive, but also the health insurance the cost has been going up.
so the deficit is roughly $24,000,
Around 30 now.
around $30,000.
For our 24.
Yeah, actually, in the last 4 years, it's more than doubled health insurance cost from 13 to 30.
Yeah, in our 24, I'm Janelle McNeil, the town comptroller. In 24, our audit, the fund balance deficit for the program is $29,159. And then this year we figure, according to Sandrine's calculations, and again, it depends upon all the vouchers that are going to happen throughout the year, but probably approximately another $30,000. So by the end of this year, probably about a $60,000 deficit that the town has to share in and be able to provide the funding because we have to make this fund whole.
So what are the options?
Well, the options are either the town can share in the program and say that it's a program that they want to keep moving forward because they find it a benefit for their citizens. And then we, when I'm starting to build the budget this year, because it's about a $30,000 deficit that we're running, I was budgeting that Sandrine's administrative fees for her health care would instead come out of the supervisor's budget. That should make her whole. Or when we went to Westchester County, I know that the county and some other towns have given up their Section 8 programs and have given them out to, it's a consulting firm.
Yeah, non-governmental.
Non-governmental firm.
But
so the
that's
town-
not to say that we wouldn't have Section 8 here.
Correct. It
When
would
you
just
say give
be-
up the Section 8 program,
Yes, it would be
it's
just
not
that we
accurate.
would not manage it.
We would not manage it, but we would still have the Section 8
Yes,
program.
yes, so it would still be provided to the citizens, it just wouldn't be managed in-house. So
And
those
I-
are
If
two
we
options.
gave it to some other agency, let's say something in White Plains or wherever, the people who are coming to your office now for help would then have to go to those other offices. And they might not be making the home visits for,
Oh, they're definitely not making the home visits,
visits.
and most of them are not open for people to come in. And I've received a lot of phone calls in my office from people who actually deal with those other agencies because they don't even answer the phones, they don't answer the emails, so they're just hard to communicate with.
what would some of those other agencies be? What are the
CVR
other?
in White Plains is the agency that Janelle was talking about.
I'm sorry, what's the agency?
CVR, I don't remember what that stands for, but they are the ones who took over the county Section 8.
So the county is not doing Section 8 anymore.
Not for years.
But there is, the county did let us know that there is still, I think, 8 communities in Westchester that still in-house manage their own Section 8 programs, and they were willing to try and contact the state, right, on behalf of the 8 communities to see if they could somehow change the structure.
So just a little background for the people listening and sitting here. We have gone to the county. We've reached out to HUD. We've had meetings with Ken Jenkins. We were just down, and some of his staff, and there's a realization of what the issues are, but there's not a lot of solutions. And the things that we've come across, as Janelle just said, we could try that, but
You can try.
yeah. we
Where
could
are the
try.
other 8 municipalities that have their own programs? How close are they to Yorktown?
New Rochelle has 2, White Plains, Greenberg, Peekskill, Austining, can't remember anybody else.
So Peekskill and Ossining would be the closest ones. Do they do a better job servicing their clients in terms of being responsive to them?
Definitely better than the county with.
Well, that
but
sounds
you
like
can't
no
show-
service.
You can't just show up at the door, you do have to make an appointment, but yes, they're better than the county. We have
Out of those 8 that we mentioned, everybody else has moved to this managed company,
CBR.
CBR.
Scenario.
Yeah, I mean, there's some municipalities that never had it to begin with, but yes, some have moved to CBR.
What are some of them? Who has moved?
CBR?
Yeah.
East Chester,
Mm-hmm.
example, Mamaroneck.
Mamaroneck, East Chester.
So this would be a
Yonkers too?
No,
No,
Yonkers
no,
has their own.
Yonkers has their own?
Yeah, that's one I
I
forgot
mean,
to mention. Yonkers is big.
I do believe when Sandrine was going through some of your paperwork, I think that the original intent of the program always was that the municipality had a share portion. We just never had to have that share portion because the previous person that was in this position prior to Sandrine did not take healthcare benefits. So that was so, advantageous to us where we did not have to include that in our administrative fees. So for those number of years, it worked out for us that we did not have to include a shared portion.
So if the town has to absorb this and keep the program here so we can provide that one-on-one service, you're talking about a roughly $30,000 addition to the budget.
60.
We approximate for right now, I mean, I can't be held to that number
Yeah.
because it varies based on
What the insurance
vouchers.
rates and
And,
what
right,
the
and
insurance rates go up.
Insurance rates, what they change, and then who leaves our town and goes somewhere else, and if we lose more fees or.
All the breaks and fractures
So
of
you're
the
talking
system.
$30,000 to $40,000 roughly.
Could be more. I wouldn't
Yeah.
bank on that. Could be less. It could be more.
Yeah.
If all of a sudden everyone stayed in Yorktown, that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't. They utilize it because we have a really good Section 8 person running it, and there's access. And as we get people there, we get people the vouchers, and they move through the list. But the bottom line is, if you have 6 people that are going to move to Rockland where the rents are higher in the next year, we're going to be in a lot of trouble with it. So
There's no cap on that?
You know, Janelle, Ed, you're the ones who are working on the 2026 budget, so you have a better feel for what's happening and what you're looking at going ahead for the year. I just feel that this has been a critical program for Yorktown residents for so long. You're roughly half, your people are Yorktown residents. And is this a service that we want to provide? Is it worth the $40,000? And I think, Ed, you're the one who has to put the initial budget together, and then it comes to the board
Yep.
in November. But I don't envy you the job, having had to do it once before. I know the struggles that you're going through, and times are getting worse. But I think, to some extent,
I think
we
right
have
now.
a service to some of our residents that we also have to
I
consider.
think, yep, absolutely. And I think right now we have to really focus on the funding at this point where we're at. I think that, yes, it probably warrants a decision. There's the program, the accessibility for our residents being the big part of it, and having someone who's really an advocate for them working it instead of someone collecting a paycheck. I think that's an important thing, especially in the in the world of Section 8 and having the housing community that we have. These are people that are vested in making a difference, and it's important. I don't always think that agencies hire the right people for it. They just hire the people to get through, as you could tell by not being able to get to someone on the phone. But it's consideration on the level of service, because the vouchers per se won't go away. There'll be people being able to use it, but I think that's a little more of a nuanced conversation than just throwing it out at a board meeting and going through it, because there are other things to definitely consider.
Do you need a budget transfer this year for the 2025?
Yes, you guys will have to decide. I mean, we'll have to, because it's in a deficit, so we will have to make it whole for 24 and 25, and then whether or not
With-
26.
To me, that's a no-brainer. With $24 million in a fund balance, that's a no-brainer. You know,
Yes, but even though that's a no-brainer, it's very shocking to see how the percentage of fees went up like 6%, like in 4 years. Like it didn't even go up
For the
in a
board
fair,
outs.
like you would think that something like this, that's supposed to be back in the pot for the people, wouldn't need to be giving this such a significant when inflation is where it's at. So yeah, I'm really sorry to see
So
that.
were these administrative fees, were they actually cuts, or just we outgrew the dollar figure that they were giving us?
No, there weren't any cuts, but we do have to share when,
When they pour it out, I get it.
Yes.
I get it.
yes.
You know, like,
Significant amount this time.
yeah, but just like when you started, there was 12 people out, poured it out. Now there's 22. You know, so and that potentially can go to 32 next year.
Yeah, Serena, I hope you don't mind if I share something that you told me. But recently, I was talking to Sandrine and was asking her a question about about a rental housing development in Yorktown, where I had heard from a resident that the rents went up because the ownership changed, and we do have 2 Section 8 10 people living in there. And Sandrine told me that she was able to negotiate down the projected rent increase, so it stayed within her budget. And this is an example of where we helped that resident. I don't know if it was originally a Yorktown resident or not, okay? But with that personal approach kind of made the difference. And I wonder if somebody, forget about going to New Rochelle, even in Peekskill or Ossining, would make that effort to preserve that unit and have that relationship with the new owner, and to
Well, it's a
to
service
negotiate
that
down. It's
Sandrine,
a service.
that's a service that she performs, and we
Is it-
appreciate it.
And that's a budget question for 2026
Yeah,
that
that
we
we have to weigh out
consider.
all of
Yeah.
those.
I hope you don't mind my sharing
Oh,
that,
no, no,
but
they're
I
all
thank you
aware.
for what you
They're
did, and keeping those 2 units within the program, within the affordable rent.
Not a problem.
All right. Chanel, maybe we could work on the resolution to get the transfer needed so we get whole, and then we'll have more discussions, I'm sure, during budget, and keep focused on trying to figure this out. If you have that paperwork that talks about the share, I'd love to see that. Good.
You had that, remember, we were looking at that?
Great. Yeah, let's see what the expectation was, and we'll keep banging on Kenny's door.
Yeah, we'll do the resolution for the 24 shortage, the deficit, and then once we finish 25, then when I have a firm number, then, you know, you guys can, after that, when it's done, then we'll transfer those funds, and then,
That'll be a little over, somewhere between 50 and 60 for
60
both years.
Yeah,
50,000,
through
60,000.
2025, through the end of 25, and then, 26 if you guys
And then
wanna move
26 will
forward
be
with it.
another,
Well, then with 2026, it won't be a deficit in that fund. We'll move the cost, if you guys agree that you want to keep the program, then we will move the share that is agreed to out of the administrative line for Section 8, and that instead will come over to the general fund.
yeah, but the deficit will still exist. I mean, it's not paying for itself like it used to.
Yes, yeah. Or just that it's our share.
All right. Thank you so much,
Okay.
ladies.
Thank you, Sandrine.
Figure it out.
All right, John, why don't you come up on the codage amendment? How are you, John?
Good.
Not a lot of amending in this. Why don't you go over what we're?
Okay. I'm going from memory, so basically, I'll
Take it. Sharing is caring.
Thank you. It basically creates a definition for what is coming to be known as bottle and can redemption centers, which they're popping up. So it creates that definition, and it distinguishes it from other forms of recycling, which we've had some experience with. And then it adds that, oh, this is the wrong one. It adds that use in one very simple line to the C4 zone.
Why don't you read out the definition?
Okay.
It's
if
a
you
very
want.
short one.
I apologize, I don't have it with me.
Oh, I thought that was it.
That was the wrong one.
Give me the other.
Sorry.
Oh, can you read it? Came out light. Yeah.
Oh, here's the
Because it
clause.
does build on what we have learned from our past experience with recycling.
So it's called a beverage container redemption center, and it's defined as an establishment or business operating within an enclosed building that accepts beverage containers from the public for a fee per container as prescribed by state law, and excluding and prohibiting any other household or commercial recycling of any kind. Okay? So, kind of a simple fix, but there you go.
Thank you. You add this to C4. Is there any reason why it should not also be added to C1 and C3? While you're doing it, I'm just curious.
You could. You could.
Because would it be an appropriate?
Well, the reason would be that what we see in one of the entities that wants to do this, that the pickup can be often a tractor trailer. So, for instance, in a C1, which is shopping centers, that could present a problem.
Okay.
C2, mom and pops along Commerce Street, could be a problem. C4 is our heavy commercial district, less of a problem, but it depends on the site, the size of the site, what's on the site, or if it's going to be built,
Right.
then you can accommodate, that type of use. But that is one of the things that was talked about and learned as we started investigating this.
So if somebody wants to come in and we're doing this because somebody wants to locate one of these facilities in what's now Quality Lawnmower, and the issue did come up about the tractor trailer trucks comes and picks up what the person collected, and whether that site is suitable for a tractor trailer truck. That's something that the planning board would deal with at the time of coming in for site plan approval, parking plan approval. And if the planning board felt there could not be suitable access for a trailer truck, and that's what the owner says is the kind of truck that comes, the planning board could deny the site plan approval, right?
That's correct.
Right. All we're doing is making a code adjustment or amendment, and that for the zoning, and that is it. We're not looking at a specific project, not our venue, but that is within the plan.
To be quite honest, I'm not in favor of the use. And I'm also, and I did bring up that comment must have been directed to me, because I did bring up the fact that in a discussion with the potential project applicant, I guess that's what you would call it, there is no room on this particular site for a tractor trailer. They actually even talked about reversing back onto 202. Which is not going to happen. What they're going to do is they're going to park on 202. They're going to get out of their truck and they're going to do what they're going to do. But that's not what's in front of us here, and I understand that.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I don't want the use I don't like the use. I don't think the use is appropriate. I think 202 is being developed more along where we have robust shopping and that kind of stuff. I'd like to see more eateries possibly on 202. I just don't really see this use as a benefit, to Yorktown and what I envision, that I would like to see coming in here. And people tell us all the time, you could stop this, you could stop that, you don't have to approve everything. I'm just not in favor of this use. I know that this guy runs a quality operation. I don't doubt that, and I'm not here to disparage his operation. His places look very nice. I just seen this use. This is more like a soda distributor kind of place where they collect bottles and they have them stacked up in the back, and then a tractor trailer comes by and picks them up, and they try to say that there'd be other trucks too, smaller trucks, and there will be. I'm sure there will be. I just don't see this use for me in Yorktown anywhere. And before anybody jumps down my throat and says I'm against recycling or something like that, some ridiculous comment like that, there are plenty of places to recycle bottles and cans. And I know we went over the machines broken at the supermarket. We have plenty of supermarkets that have the machines, and there are other ways that the recycling can happen with redemption, or you could recycle through the town's recycling program, which you could leave them right up at the top of your driveway. So it's not going to be detrimental against the environment or anything like that if we don't approve this change of zone amendment. So I'm not really in favor of this type of use in Yorktown, and for that reason, I'm contemplating voting against referring it out, unless I hear anything else.
Well, I think from a referral point of view, First 202 is quite a changing landscape as you go down it for the different uses that are there, and it always has been. This is close to the old windmill, which I'd love to see something go into. It's close to the water company that's there. So look, I have a lot of faith in planning to make sure that if something is there, it works. But I remember one time after I hurt myself that we were trying to recycle everything, bring in cans and bottles. I realized I was spending more time trying to find working machines than it was worth. And you know what? We just started bagging them up and giving them to the people that would come by the house. But the way things are today, for some people, turning in their 50, 60 bottles can make a difference. And I think that from a time point of view, this is great for them. I don't want to see them on prime real estate, but I think there are definitely places that it could go. And I don't think it hurts to refer out and get some feedback from our different departments.
First and foremost, I never wanted to allude to the fact that I don't trust the planning board and their planning abilities. So that's not what this is about.
I understand.
And from a time perspective, the supermarket's probably much closer than driving up 202 and dealing with everything there. But like I said, it's not for me, and that's just how I feel about it.
So this is just a referral,
So go ahead and refer it.
The planning will deal with it in the site plan.
I am concerned about the trucks, so I think it would be important to hear what other side, like what other people would say, safety-wise and stuff. So
I don't think this particular site, my opinion, is suitable anyway. If you're gonna have 18-wheelers, you're gonna want some kind of a turnaround. I mean, not backing up. Who reverses an 18-wheeler?
Well, the particular site has the potential to
Do like
come
a-
in from the back,
yeah,
so there's no backing up.
so it would be like a one-way
One way
egress
in
and then one
for,
egress.
for the tractor trailer, come in one way and pull out the other way. There's potential for that.
Isn't that residential back there?
It is, but it's in common ownership, as I understand it. So
so
that's
there's
a
something to look at.
potential. And I'm not saying it alleviates anything. I'm just saying that, adding the information that there's potential for this particular site to accommodate that in that manner. I'm not saying it will be able to happen or not. But
Again, that's site plan before the planning board, and this use might be some other building on in the C4 zone, and I honestly can't say where else other than that section of 202 is a C4 zone. I really don't know. Where else?
on
what
202?
else? What else is C4 besides that strip on
Oh, what else is C4 in
General
Yorktown?
in Yorktown?
That's where most of your C4 is. There might be some pockets that I can't recall right now,
Yeah.
but I think it's really mostly along 202.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it could be some other.
All right, let's refer it out.
Can I have a motion to refer it out?
A motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Oh, no.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you, John. Dan, come on up. 3766 Foothill Street, Plotkin with a SWIP.
Good evening. So this application on Foothill Street is before you for two reasons. One, because of the amount of disturbance, and the other because it is proposed, the construction is proposed in a New York State wetland buffer. So those two threshold items kick it to the town board on for a non-administrative permit. So where we are, and Ralph Mastromonaco's here this evening, so he's going to present the project. It's a oversized parcel, but the only feasible access to it is off of Foothill Street, and it's constrained by wetlands. But I think they've, kind of put together a project, and I think it's, the only possible use of the property. So, in that regard, we'd like to have it referred out and get everybody's feedback on it. It has gone to the DEC. They've issued a notice of complete application, so it's in the hopper and they're reviewing it. But they'll be looking toward us for a seeker review. So on that, I'll pass it on to the project engineer, Ralph
Great.
Mastromonaco.
Thanks, Dan.
Hey, Ralph, how are you?
Hi, good evening.
Hi, Ralph.
I'm Ralph Mastromonaco. I'm a consulting engineer for the applicant, Mr. Plotkin, and my office is in Croton on Hudson. As Dan mentioned, this is about almost an 8-acre parcel on Foothill Street. There is a flood zone. There's a flood zone on this property. There is a DEC wetland on the property, the town-regulated wetland as well. We have in this 8-acre, roughly 7.5-acre parcel, my client would like to build one house. That house would have a driveway from Foothill Street. It's a typical house, nothing big about it. It's consistent with the house to the right, any other homes in the area in terms of how far away it is from the road. I believe that we did make an application to New York State Department of Environmental Conservation for the wetland. I believe we have the permit. I believe they issued the permit. We don't actually have a copy of it just yet because there was a matter of we had to pay the fee. So that I believe, well, we've been doing that for 6 months or so. I believe that's taken care of. In terms of the flood zone, the FEMA maps in that area were not clear. So what we did was we recalculated the flood zone. It's consistent with what they had there. It depends on how you read their maps. But we do show all that on our site plan, and we are, because the property has sort of a downhill slope, that flood zone doesn't impinge upon the house nor the area around that house. So, we think that we have a reasonable proposal. We're not in the wetland itself nor the flood zone. We're in the buffer. And given that the DEC, which is very particular, doesn't really have a problem with this, we're hoping that you can refer out whatever you need to do here. Not quite sure the procedure when you have a case like this, but thank you.
Can I see the map real quick, Ralph?
Is there any disturbance planned on slopes greater than 15%?
It's a relatively flat area.
How much incursion into the buffer?
It's a note there, 0.27 acres. 0.27 acres.
Yeah. Yep.
0.268.
0.268 acres, yep. 11,715 square feet.
And no steep slope disturbance.
No, it's not in this area, it's flat.
Right.
I'm okay with referring this, being that they already called all those DECs and whatnot.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thanks, Ralph.
I'm just better visually, so. All right, so you have a motion to refer this out?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Ralph. All right. Adam, how are you? We are going to have a presentation now from Hilltop Hanover Farms and their environmental center.
One moment.
Can someone get that cricket? My goodness.
I think he was here last week.
I think Ken brought it in. It sounds like a Mohegan Lake cricket.
Yeah, we were fighting was it town board or planning board? We were fighting town.
He heard us.
Yes.
Find receiver.
Mark Lieberman got up. He got quiet.
There you go. Actually, I could bring my dog. She'll find it. The puppy loves. She found a mouse today. She's playing with it. I had to take it and let it go under the deck.
That guy will be rooming with you in your house as soon as it gets a little cold out.
That's all right.
Be knocking at your door.
Plenty of room.
Hey, remember you helped me out? Let me in. Never mind, I'll find it in my own way. I'll say.
You could go in the basement. I have plenty of down
Anyways,
there.
this is not connecting, but I'll go ahead and move forward without it, if
Ah.
that's all right. I was going to keep this short anyways.
Okay.
Alrighty.
So thank you all for having me here. I'm Adam Chopper. I'm the farm director at Hilltop Hanover Farm and Environmental Center. It's gone by other names through the years. Has anyone been there before?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
And you work with our garden club at some of our elementary
Yes.
schools.
Yes.
So thank
I
you for
do.
that.
Yes, of course.
My wife's family used to get milk there when it was a dairy farm back in the day.
When it
So,
was Hanover Hilltop Farm,
Yes.
the Crystal Farm.
the Crystal.
Yep. So I've been at Hilltop for just 2.5 years. I started spring 2023. It's gone through many iterations over the years, but why I am here is mostly to just share, some of the new work that we're doing, to share it with you all and the viewers. We're just south of here. We're 5 minutes from here. I hope everyone knows where we are. And we're a resource in a lot of ways. I manage a 60-acre farm. Westchester County bought this property in 2003. They bought 200 or so acres, 60 acres for farmland preservation, 120-something acres on the east side of Hanover Street for watershed protection for the New Croton Reservoir. So it's a historic farm going back to the late 1700s. Now we're a public space. Not that many people know about us yet. We've been operated by Westchester County Department of Public Works, the Planning Department, and when I came on board in 2023, it became part of the Parks Department, which is wonderful. It makes a lot of sense for what we're doing. We're open to the public year-round. You can come, you can picnic, you can hike. We've got 2+ miles of hiking trail. We run programs and events. We do a lot of pay-what-you-can model programs. We have an on-site farm stand that's open Thursday through Sunday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Shameless plug there. We also have a couple animals, 3 cows, 2 goats. We run, tons of programs, K through 12, summer camp, things like that. So what do? We do
God
food,
bless.
native plants, and education and outreach, and we donate 25% of everything that we do. So I'll start with food. We are growing. We have 10 acres within a deer fenced area. We're growing on about 5 acres each year. And we have most of that food goes to our on-site farm stand, but we also donate to about a dozen food access partners. Our biggest recipient right now is Mount Kisco Interfaith Food Pantry, which serves about 700 or so families weekly in 20 different zip codes. The need is tremendous. We are not able to meet the demand, but hopefully we're just one of many, local producers of food that are helping.
Well, when
Adam, have
when
you met Cindy?
Yes, I was going to say, the
Cindy,
young lady in the pink,
She
she
has-
runs St. Mary's Food Pantry, and she's also part of our food insecurity task force.
does a great
And
job.
Lisa brings us all of her news.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Some quick stats from last season, because it's like a complete year we can look at. We grew on 5 acres. We produced 50,000 pounds of food, all kinds of veggies and produce. We donated 14,000 pounds of that food, which we're very proud of. We also we have a whole native plant nursery. It's only 5 or 6 years old at this point. We grew 25,000 individual plants from seed on the farm.
Great.
Also in our farm stand, we want to get the word out about this. We also offer discounts for folks that are on food access programs, including SNAP, EBT, Farmers Market Nutrition Program checks, WIC, Fresh Connect checks. We offer 50% off our produce that we grow in our farm stand. And then we also offer 30% off all source goods. So we also carry source goods from other local farmers, vendors. So we're trying to keep it in sort
Sounds
of a
good.
regional, local ecosystem, making those dollars go further for those folks that really seriously need it. And we're watching that program grow the last 2 years since we started rolling that out. So that's been wonderful. Our native plant program. So we're part of Westchester County Parks. Westchester County has 18,000 acres of parkland. We have a seed collector that goes out and collects local populations of native plants in the county. And then we're literally farming native plants. We have rows of native plants from the county that we are farming for the seed and plant production. I want to share this PowerPoint, but that's okay. It's wonderful. I'm looking at it myself. Our education and outreach, we do tons of K through 12 programs. We did about 3,000 or so school groups at the farm. We're starting to branch out to go more to the schools in the wintertime when it's slower at the farm. We do public programs. We have big volunteer programs. We have small volunteer programs. We have corporate events. And then we do private events, birthday parties, you name it. And what else? A couple upcoming events. We've got a native plant sale going on this Saturday. All plants that we grew right at the farm. We're doing a fall harvest fundraiser dinner next week, Thursday, September 18th. And then we're doing a 5K. Head for the Hilltop 5K. Last year we tried it for the first time. It's going to be the Sunday before Thanksgiving every year from here henceforth forever. So thank you all for your time. I just
You
wanted
say
to
head for
share-
the hilltop?
Head for the Hilltop. I've been told it's a brutal 5K,
I like that.
and that is from the runners. That's been a compliment. So
Oh,
Ken,
good.
Ken,
few-
did
a
you run it?
Tell that to us.
A few years back, Kelly Slater with the chamber did a hike over there. And it was pretty brutal.
yeah.
In the property across the way.
Yeah, exactly. It's beautiful. It's hilly. On a clear day, you can actually see the Manhattan skyline from the farm. It's
And we can all do hard things. That's
Yes.
the beauty of it.
Speak for yourself.
yes. You can also picnic and just sit around too.
Yeah.
Welcome that as well.
So the old house that's there.
yes.
I know I've gone to a couple of collective farms up in like New Hampshire, and they turn houses like that into, put out an RFP and turn it into like a beautiful breakfast brunch place where you could go to the farm, pick up your stuff, do that. Has there ever been any thought for an RFP to go out on that?
So there actually is a project in the works, not to turn it into a brunch or a place like that, but to do some restoration work, in particular with the shell of the building to make sure it's secured and waterproofed, and that's looking to start probably in the next week or two.
Okay.
That's in contract. That's rolling. I'm very excited about
Yeah,
that.
it's a beautiful,
Yeah, it's built
beautiful building.
late 1700s by Caleb Underhill. It's a fantastic building.
Great.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
No,
for
thank
what
you.
you're doing.
I look
Thank
forward to
you.
seeing it.
Thank you.
All right, discussion on ZBA referral of use variance request for Tier 2 battery energy storage systems. We had this last week. We discussed it, or I believe it was. No, actually, it was August 12th. And I have the follow memorandum for discussion to send out to the zoning board. At its meeting of August 12th, 2025, the town board discussed the subject use variance request to allow a Tier 2 battery energy storage system at 3666 Old Yorktown Road. The town board has been monitoring the evolution of this land use, beginning with its adoption of legislation requiring special permits to allow such use in on September 15th, 2020, local law number 10 of 2020. Over the years, the board has gained knowledge regarding such use and their technological evolution through various written and media sources, public input, expert testimony, and regional and national events involving these systems. The board recently determined these systems, given the current available knowledge, are potential public health hazards and are not desirable to allow as a land use, and therefore adopted legislation that removes this as an allowable land use from the town zoning code. Further, the specific to this proposal, the location and position of the system near the Taconic State Parkway, New York State Route 132, and Route 6 could exacerbate the potential health hazards, and in the case of an emergency event could cause significant disruption to the traveling public as well. Therefore, the board does not support the subject variance.
Motion.
Any comments, or are we good on
I
that?
think we're good.
Yeah, Adam, I think you explained this at the last time we brought this up, but why, after the town board prohibited these Tier 2 facilities, is this application coming back? Could you just explain that again?
Because, yeah, you can file use variance like any other person or entity. You know, there are things called use variances that allow the zoning board to give a variance for a use that's not permitted in a certain zone or in town. So they're certainly free to do that, and that's what they've done.
And you want to explain the public utility threshold?
Well, there's a test for use variance. There's a different test for public utilities if they meet the definition of public utility. You want me to go through the standard?
No, but in effect, if the zoning board determines it's a public utility, it's a lower threshold.
Yeah.
I think that's the point. It's a lower threshold that they have to convince the zoning board to qualify for the use variance.
And they may not have to be the ones convincing, as New York State has been picking this up. So I do recommend, if you are against this use, talk to your elected officials on the state level, because they are trying to pass both solar and battery energy storage large scale as public utilities. And if that happens, then the threshold drops dramatically.
And this did happen in one case with the solar farm. It did happen. There is a court case where a municipality upstate, I don't remember the municipality, rejected the ground mounted solar farm because of its impact on the local community, and the courts held that the state's need for solar energy was a superior need, and it qualified as a public utility, and that's the issue that will have to be dealt with.
And it bypasses home rule.
And I should add that at last night's planning board meeting, the planning board, if you remember, was opposed to the town law that would be prohibiting these because they saw a need for the battery storage facility. However, the planning board will send a memo to the zoning board, again for the hearing on the 11th, opposing this particular location for some of the same reasons that Ed cited in the memo from the town board, is the proximity to the Taconic Parkway and to Route 6 and 132. And in the event there is a fire, the standard protocol is to let the fire burn out, which creates smoke, and the smoke would be a safety issue for travelers on the parkway. And that was why the planning board, even though it supports allowing battery facilities, did not think this was an appropriate location.
Yep.
The smoke is actually even it's toxic, and the protocol is to let it burn out, is because there's really no effective way to put it out.
Yeah,
So
that was the issue.
So
for the
that's
planning
what the
board.
story is with that.
Yeah.
But
And it's also one of the waterways. It's right there, one of the DEC waterways. There are a whole lot of issues with the site. But so can I have a motion to
Motion.
send that to zoning? Thank you. Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, next, it was not on the, I apologize, was not on your copy, but it's a discussion for the proposed local law amending Chapter 300 by deleting Section 321C3A2G and amending Chapter 19541 of the Town Code of the Town of Yorktown regarding public sites and open spaces on site plans containing residential units. And Luciana, thank you for your work and research on this. I will flip it to Adam to go through the changes.
I'm so excited.
The changes, so we're deleting a section that'll be redundant given the revisions. We're adding sections to 195-41 that kind of lays out the new process or sort of scheme that we're going to analyze the rec component of site plan approval, and then also make it clear that any fees that are imposed in lieu of recreation set-asides will be available in the master fee schedule, so the town can continue to analyze that and come up with whatever structure it wants to do for payment in lieu, right? If it's going to be just a single flat fee for every unit, or if a three-bedroom is going to be X amount, a two-bedroom is going to be X amount, we can do that. And we're doing that. We're pursuing that on a parallel track, right?
But that will be in the master fee schedule.
Yeah, I mean, you can change that by resolution. We're pursuing that, but we wanted to get this sort of framework in place,
So
as soon as
this,
possible.
and John, why didn't you come up to? You're not going to get off that easy. No, up, not out. Good try.
Another candy.
So we've spelled out. I know that it's always been the discretion of the planning board, which is to charge fees in all of the zones. Although I think,
I wouldn't say discretion, but
well, part of the law that you take, but it hasn't been spelled out in our town code. So which zones have been addressed where it's more concrete and spelled out?
in this,
Yes.
this will be any residential zone that comes in for a multifamily site plan. So that'll include RSP1, RSP2, RSP3, R3, R2, and it explicitly adds to the transitional zone. So when you do have multifamily residential as part of a transitional zone, it grabs that. I had some notes for you that I sent. I did mention the C2R zone, but C2R would be part of the site plan as well, so I think it will capture it. If you want to make that explicit, you can by either adding something into the C2R zone itself in the body of the zoning code, which I don't think is the best place for it, or I suggested that you can add a note to the zoning chart for residential that lists those zones, including C2R, and that they are subject to this section and the recreational fee analysis and money in lieu requirements per town law and this code. So,
Great.
if you care to
Like
do
it
it
there.
that way, yeah. But
I
I
like
think
it better
I
there.
think this covers everything that we see in terms of residential site plans. So.
I'm excited to refer
All right,
it out.
I have some, I'm not ready to refer it out. I have some comments. I reviewed the law, and rather than send copies with marginal notes, I basically summarized my comments two ways. I had overall concerns and what I considered what was missing. The proposed law would add a section to the land development regulations 19541. Okay, that section is part of Article 7, which deals with site plans, which is multifamily housing. It's not clear to me whether you're dealing with the rec fee for single-family homes, which come under subdivisions. And when you look at the proposed new regulation for what you're adding to the code, it talks about, the heading says site plans, and then inside you talk about subdivisions. I don't want to get into the weeds, but there are differences between site plans and subdivisions, and I think that is not clear the way the law is currently written, because it's kind of cut and paste. So that has to be clarified. Another issue that I think needs to be discussed is it's not consistent when it talks about parks, playgrounds, active, passive recreation, and also I think it should talk about recreation facilities, because that's what we're really talking about at this point. We're not just talking about parks and playgrounds. Also, the New York State law, which is the law that authorizes us to collect a recreation fee, specifically says the law authorizes a land use reservation for parks and playground needs. This town law is adding ecological needs. I don't know where that comes from, all right? And I think that that's a term that needs discussion, and what is concerned about ecological needs, because it's a valuable piece of open space, or it's a wetland, or it's whatever, that needs to be concerned. You're adding it, you said by inference that by adding this section to 195.41, that would automatically include RSP2 and C2R. I'm not so sure that is necessarily included, and I think that RSP2, which has become an issue lately between Toll Brothers and AMS, that should specifically be added, as well as C2R, because we have two developments on Kear Street that have apartments above the stores, and there's no recreation fee there. I also question whether, I thank you for adding it to the transitional zone, but I think there's no need to repeat all of the text. You could simply just refer that anything in a transitional zone that has residential units has to comply with section whatever that you added. It just simplifies the code. Then I talk about things that are missing from this proposed law. I already mentioned the RSP2 and the CR2. And I think this board has to decide whether it wants to deal with, especially when it comes to money in lieu of, does it want to deal with single-family subdivisions and multifamily housing the same way? That's a policy decision that has not been discussed. I think we also the law needs a requirement in the code that plans be referred out to the Recreation Commission and the Town Board. I think while the Planning Board has the ultimate responsibility, I think they need the recommendation from the Rec Commission as to whether we need a playground, or we need a park, or we need open space, something like that. And the Town Board should be able to recommend whether we want to accept either open space, or we want a recreation facility for public use, and not just leave it up to the Planning Board. And there's no requirement at this point, and recommendations have become significant. Again, I'm not suggesting that we usurp the Planning Board's authority, but I think the recommendation is important.
I agree.
There's no repeal for section 322, which deals with flexibility, which sets different recreation fees for whether a multifamily development is a condominium or a rental. I don't understand why that's there.
I don't know what you're referring to. I don't know of any.
Section 322 says.
I know that section, but I don't recall.
Well, why is there a different recreation fee
I don't recall that there is. So it's not in 322.
It's 322. Flexibility is called.
No, it cites the master fee schedule.
Yes.
But why is there a different fee?
Where's the difference fee, though? That's my question.
We're going to create
It says something. I don't have the language here, but I think this needs to be looked at.
No, it's not a different fee.
I beg to differ. The other issue that has surfaced recently is when the recreation fee has to be paid. Is it when the subdivision plat or the site plan is approved? Is it before the first CO is issued, or when the last CO is issued? And the Town Board has had this issue with a specific development, and I think that has to be made clear, because it's not clear.
Yeah, that was an anomaly, but that's.
Well,
I understand your point.
And
but an anomaly nonetheless.
There's nothing in any of the existing sections that deal with the recreation fee that have a purpose and intent section. Why are we collecting a recreation fee?
That would be a section That would be a separate, you'd have that when you have actual separate chapter of a law. This is within.
Well, but that's also a
section.
problem because the recreation fee requirements are spread out in different places. And I suggested to the town board, there's been a lot of concern about looking at Peekskill, all right? People have cited Peekskill, so I looked at
Actually,
Peekskill.
you're the one who cited Peekskill.
No, I think somebody else cited Peekskill. I think
No.
Luciana cited Peekskill
I did
a
not
while
cite
back.
Peekskill.
All right.
All right, anyway, go,
The
please continue.
The Peekskill law has a very simple section. In its fees, it has a chapter fees, very much akin to our chapter 168 master fees. And it has a specific section dealing with recreation fee, and it sets out the purpose, and it says, and it refers to the equivalent of their master fee schedule for the fees, which is what we would do. And then it references the section in both the subdivision law and the site plan law regarding land reservation and money in lieu. And then you go to the subdivision and the subdivision section site plan, and then it has that. It's very, very, very simple. The other issue that hasn't been discussed is this proposed law is deleting one section. I won't go through all the letters within section 321, but it's leaving in a section that says you have to have 400 feet, at least 400 square feet of usable spaces provided on the site for each dwelling unit in the play area and other outlet. It's very, very specific. And if I remember the discussion about Garden Lane, it was, I don't know that you have to keep that in because it constrains the planning board to have to fit those regulations into a site where they don't necessarily belong. And the planning board went through this with Garden Lane. So that whole section needs to be looked at. It might have been valid 20 years ago when it was proposed, but if you're deleting...
Longer than that, but
I
probably
think
older than me. That's pretty old.
then it's
So
as long as you're
Revolutionary
deleting
War.
something, it's
Around there.
time to look at that, and there's been no
Well,
looking at that.
okay.
All
I
of this
just-
put together tells me that this law needs to be relooked at, okay, before it's even referred out.
Okay.
I just think that I think the way this law is laid out and with all the input from Lou and from everybody else, it's very simple. It says if you have a site plan, then this law gets triggered. And so and I know in your comments you said it doesn't address subdivisions. Of course it does. Subdivisions will require site plans, which will
No,
trigger this.
subdivisions are separate from site plans.
No,
It's
but when you do a subdivision, you're going to need a site plan.
No.
Yes, you
No,
do.
you-
Well,
No, you
For the
don't.
most part-
Well-
no, you're wrong. I'm sorry, sir. You're
no,
wrong.
I'm sorry, but go ahead.
Thank you, John.
This section exists in the subdivision section in Chapter 195. So it exists already.
So we don't need to repeat it.
So
But-
I'll
but
admit
but-
to you that you're right. This is a cut and paste because I took it from the subdivision section and I created it in the site plans section because what I'm hearing throughout this process is that you think there's holes and it needs to be explicit. So now it's explicit. It's basically a regurgitation. So when you find some references to subdivision, that's because it exists in subdivision already. And so to fix that particular one is to just right now say when you refer it out, change everything you found from subdivision to site plan and it can go.
You
But
have
it
that
exi-
in, I think, in 195.16 and 195.35.
195.60, so it refers to 195.16, and as you yourself, I think, just mentioned, there's no need to regurgitate too much stuff in the code. I had reservations about taking this large section of paragraph and taking it from page 3, and then regurgitating it onto page 7, but I did because the board wants to be explicit and make sure nothing's getting through the cracks. So it's regurgitated, but I don't think 195.16 sends you back to where the master fee schedule is.
Yeah.
It's really a simple reference. So
It's
I just think that
It's
that
not-
any
and I
further
think it
delay
needs
on
to be
this,
looked at,
we've been
and
talking
why-
about we've been talking about the delay and all of this other stuff, and now we have a law in front of us, which is pretty good.
Very good.
And so it's really accomplishing everything that we
we were talking about, everything that Lou wanted, and I believe the fees, if we want them to go up, and I think Lou, you have some comments on
Yes.
that. So we would do that at budget time with the master fee schedule. And I mean, I don't understand what the delay is. Why put it off? Susan, you were advocating for getting this done. It's here. I say it's a very good law. Let's talk about Lou, what your thoughts are on the fees, if you have any ideas on that, and let's get this out and let's get it back for comment, so this way we can move this forward. I don't think delaying it another week or rewriting the law because you don't like some of the language, I don't think that has any value.
The framework is
And that's wrong.
very, very tight. So
What I don't understand what framework is tight.
John just explained it.
There's no
Just because
framework.
you don't like
No.
it doesn't mean he didn't do his homework.
Oh, I
He did his
didn't know
homework,
what you
and
was-
Luciani did a phenomenal
That's
job
what you meant
putting
by
this all
framework.
together.
We're not
Yes, that's
we're not
framework.
talking about the fees. The actual fee is a totally separate discussion.
And it'll be on the master fee schedule.
That's a totally separate discussion. I'm just talking about the law. And you're having a section dealing with site plans, and then you talk about subdivisions. And I
so
have to go
Susan-
back. I would suggest that you spend another week and take a look at this and clean up
How about
where this applies to subdivisions or to site plans. It's very confusing. The sections that are missing, the referral sections, the RSP2, the CR2, the
No, they're not missing.
I understand what you're saying about there may be some leftover references to subdivision. That's possible.
And ecological? Can you discuss
I'll
that?
get to that. And I just said that if there is a reference in there, change it to site plan. Very simple, because this section is written for residential site plans. So, and
it's a find and replace function on Word.
it's very
So-
very simple on that. On the ecological.
And then,
On the ecological, that I believe is in there in our law. I believe it exists somewhere in state enabling legislation, but I didn't find it this afternoon. But I recall that it is. Whether it is or not, I believe what it refers to is that you can have parks which can be created for ecological purposes. Many of our national parks are. Turkey Mountain, I would say, although there's trails and it's really coveted for the trail people, is there for ecological reasons. So we have them here in Yorktown, and it's a legitimate park under state enabling legislation, which I think parks have that function as well. So that's why it's in there. If you want to get more explicit, you can get as explicit as you
John,
want.
if we refer it out, can you just tighten up that language in the definition?
About ecological? I mean,
that's all.
You could if you wanted to, yeah. We
Next.
can talk about
It's
that.
not necessary.
And then I just want to speak to a little.
The other issue I'd like to bring.
Well, let John speak to the ones that are on
I
the
just
table. Thank
wanted
you.
to talk about when you mentioned the 400 square feet requirement in R3. That is there, and you'll recall that there's two sections, one above the other. One is the 400 on-site playground.
Yeah.
The next one is the 10%, right? The 10% is what is in the state enabling legislation, and that is taking care of recreational facilities and opportunities for the town as a whole as population grows. That's the purpose of it. The 400 square feet is for if you have a 100-unit multifamily or 20-unit multifamily, whatever it is, that those kids that live there in an R3, which is not age restricted, have a place to play. And that's the reason for it. It's a real good, in my view, site plan requirement because they own it, they take care of it, but they must provide it for those kids, and they can't take it away because it's a site plan amenity. I
agree.
have
recommend
to maintain
strongly
it.
against removing that.
I agree when you have 50 or 100 units, but when you have 20 units like you have in Garden Lane, and you know how the planning board struggled, okay, with finding spaces to meet that requirement, and how it's going to end up probably unusable.
I don't know
All
that
right,
it will.
and-
I
and
don't know that, but
And if it wasn't there, could the planning board have made a decision that there's no suitable place to have an on-site park or playground or whatever you want to call it, a recreation facility, and instead give us money in lieu?
Correct,
Well,
but they,
The planning board could have made that
No,
that
because that's
decision
a
anyway.
requirement in R3.
that
It's a
happens to be,
requirement in R3.
and that's a particular case because it happens to be a tight site that hails from years ago during a rezoning process, as you'll recall, and they got the 23 units, if you recall, and there was a density bonus, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it was on that property. So it was approved as a tight site before they did a site plan through a rezoning. So it comes to pass that once you get it and you look at the requirements, it was tight. But I think it was solved with what the planning board did, and I expect it to be successful but tight. I'll use an example of Crampon Crossing, which is behind Best Plumbing. 26 units, not much more. They did that playground. They had the room for it, and it's there, and it's a good thing to have for the people
Yes,
that
it
live
is.
there. Even if there's two families with kids, it's there for them. They don't have to take their kids elsewhere. It's a good thing.
And
I think
requiring
the plan-
requiring open space, I think, is something that we should all be, championing. So I don't really see a big issue with that either. I think we're covering all our bases here,
I think the
and
400
I think we move
sorry.
this forward. Oh, no, I'm sorry. go ahead.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I think the 400 requirement makes sense for some developments, and I would leave that flexibility to the planning board when they look at specific sites. You said it worked for Compound. The Garden Lane was absolutely forced. The few units that were built at the end of Lee and East Main Street, was, I think,
Surrey Court,
no,
the
new one.
The new one, okay.
Was that a multifamily zone?
Yes, R3.
Did they have any requirement there? That's so tight.
I think probably the planning board looked at that and said there's really no valid space, and did what you said under the authority that they have to do that. But in Garden Lane, whether it looked as though they struggled or not, and it was tight, they found a good spot for the things that they do, and it's fitting in there.
Well,
so
I think
And it's
someone would
beneficial.
question whether it was. And then
there will be questions on everything, that's for sure.
The other things that I think are missing, yes, you can clean up the language and take out the wrong information for subdivisions within a site plan. And yes, Sergio, site plans and subdivisions are apples and oranges, totally different. All right, sorry, but they are different, okay? And
that's why they got different names.
And that's why there are different sections for recreation. for
Exactly, and that's why
subdivisions.
this law covers both of them anyway. So
No,
your point is
this
moot.
was only
So
doing
you're
that.
you're making a
Go ahead,
big deal
refer
about
it out.
something that's moot. I get it. I understand what you're saying. Our subdivision's covered.
Yes.
Thank you.
And it will go to the planning board.
planning
as well.
director is telling you that subdivisions are covered, and you are trying to inform the public that they're not. And that was wrong
But
in your own words,
Your,
Susan. But
your
it
money,
was.
your money in lieu of section, which is a major section in this law that you're changing for site plans, are those same money in lieu of sections currently in the subdivision portion?
That language comes from the subdivision.
Yes.
And I modified it to fit the site plan. I didn't see the need to rewrite it from scratch. It's
No,
been
of
working
course
for years. And it's also been working for site plans, frankly. AMS and Toll Brothers went through the recreation analysis. AMS going through it right now. Toll Brothers did it before the fact during the site plan, during rezone. But the planning board also looking at their rec fees. And it's not explicitly in the code for R2, but it's in the enabling legislation, and we do it under that aegis for all residential site plans. So
I appreciate that.
are there some anomalies out there that you can point to? Yeah, there is. The C2R, a couple of them, did not have that thing attached to it, I don't think. I'm thinking of one or two. I'd have to go back and look.
But the goal
But
is for
as
the
I said,
future.
if you want to be explicit, you can be explicit, more explicit than here.
No, I'd like it
it's
to,
fine.
I'd like it to be left flexible, so the planning board has the flexibility
And they do.
based on recommendations
Susan,
from the
the-
rec commission and the town board.
Well, they-
Susan, the
All right,
flexibility,
look,
flexibility
You
is the
disagree with
issue
me.
that's.
I've made my say.
Right.
I will have, when it
Yes,
gets
let's
to a
please,
pub-
let's not
when it
delay
gets
this.
to a public hearing, I will make my additional suggestions about what's missing in the law.
I really appreciate you
But I
covering
think you
it.
do have to clean up the subdivision wording and.
Once we refer it out, we can clean it up deeper, but at this point, we have this law, it double covers us, we'll have a master fee that'll be referenced to, and there won't be one bed that doesn't have to either adhere to one part of this or another. And that's the goal here. And as far as the Parks Commission goes, of course, we're gonna refer it out to them, and we're gonna consider them.
Planning board doesn't have to.
But they do it anyway, they refer it out to them.
Always.
Under SECR, You have to, because they're
to.
they would be an interested agency, and if we haven't on one or two, it was an oversight. That's what I'll tell you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right.
So just to
So
be
can-
clear,
can I have a
SECR
motion to move
requires
this
it,
out?
right?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Yay!
Aye. Opposed? Nay.
Please.
Thank
I
you,
don't think
Susan.
it's ready for
Lou.
referral.
All right.
You did a
So
great job
just
with
please
all-
make those
Thank
changes
you.
before we bring it.
Now let's get to that master
get it
fee
to the-
schedule.
Oh, you're making changes before it's
Well,
referred out?
well, he's
That's
changing
right.
that anomaly where it came over with subdivision.
The one that you brought up.
We said that already.
And Susan, I appreciate your
Ecological-
suggestions. I went through all
and-
your suggestions and
ecological?
and they
He
were
spoke about
very
that as
interesting.
well. So,
Susan,
all right.
your
So,
suggestions were very, very interesting.
so we will, John. Actually, why don't you come back a second because I want to talk about the next step. You were almost there, buddy. If you didn't stop to look at your watch.
Sorry.
So the next step, we're going to need to talk about the fees.
Yes.
And the master fee schedule. So I know that we've been looking at some different things on people who actually do the analysis on this.
Yeah.
Is it becoming a little cost prohibitive from the?
Yeah, we have the first proposal back. It's time prohibitive, and I would say some, cost prohibitive. But I think we can talk to them about scope. I haven't done that yet, but
All right.
the other one we still expect to get something from.
Just,
Let me know if you want me to
just
call.
just on a research thing that I put Jim onto, I believe it's since when was this law enacted? 2000ish. The last time it was changed.
The fees?
Yeah.
2006, something like that.
I believe since that year, like the cost of playground equipment
Oh my God.
has gone up 500%. So it's quite an increase on things, and just from that point of view of what we're looking at, and one of the reasons we need to look at this because I think
Right.
that's important to put it out.
And how
And
about
then you have to be
term?
careful when you take this money that it goes to the trust fund and it's used for specific things.
Right, full replacements
Not,
and
yeah, I don't know. You got to be careful with that. That's walking the line a little bit. I think you can do it, but just be careful. I mean-
I'm glad you brought that up because there was some comments before about specifically where you could use the money.
Yeah.
It's already specified in any way you look where how you can use it, and you can't really use it for maintenance and like cutting lawn. You can't use these fees for like mowing the lawn or anything like that. It has to be
However-
something
However,
new,
when
right.
the money can come in, it will free up other funds that have permission to do certain things so that we can have some sort of a maintenance plan. You can't buy a car and not afford the gas, right? So I keep saying that. So we need to really take care of what we have,
Yeah.
especially our parks.
Thank you, John.
Okay.
You could probably run now. All right, we'll hit the resolutions from the engineering department. Authorize the supervisor to sign the Ingersoll Rand Service Agreement TS 220854 as revised for a period of 5 years for a total cost of $56,509.60. Authorize the controller to release erosion control bond to ARQ Architecture PC for $500. Authorize the comptroller to release erosion control bond to Pietro and Gladys DeSisto in the amount of $1,500. From the highway department to release the escrow deposit to Luigi and Gretchen Morphia in the amount of $500. Authorize the comptroller to process the following budget transfer to Peter A. Chameleon Sons Construction, and that is $74,076.87 from highway salaries to highway outside services for construction. From the Human Resources Department, appoint Michael Butteroni to the Civil Service Title Laborer in the Parks Department. Yep, welcome aboard, Michael. Maybe. We'll see where the vote goes. Appoint David Wong to the Civil Service Title Deputy Town Controller. And congratulations, David, on passing that test. Authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement to settle disputes with employee ID number 003927. and that's to authorize me to settle disputes with this employee globally. From the library, authorize the supervisor to sign an agreement with DP Wolf, and that is for heating service and maintenance. From Parks and Recreation, award the bid for printing to the Town of Yorktown Parks and Recreation Department semi-annual program brochure, and this bid is awarded to, well, it's an extension of the current bid, which is Graphic Image Inc. in Milford, Connecticut. And from the Refuse and Recycling Department, authorize the Central Garage to scrap or sell at auction a 2009 Ford F-350. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
Before you have a motion to adjourn, could you give us an update on the status of the RFP for the rooftop solar on town buildings? What we're doing and
Sure, Susan. So we put out an RFP that didn't get anything back. So we spoke about spending the money to have someone do it for us through
Sustainable Westchester.
Sustainable Westchester. Thank you. Adam reminded me that in 21 we did put a bid out that encompassed a lot of different things, and we got some very good results back on it, unlike the one result we got back on this other bid. So I wanted to take the bid, look at the results that we had gotten. Diane, I don't know if you've had a chance to dig that up.
I think we tried to send them out and it was too large of a file, so
Okay.
I'm working on trying to do it.
Thanks.
One drive.
I appreciate that.
I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
say that again, Diane, I didn't hear
It
you.
was too large of a file to send out, so she's getting it on a OneDrive for me.
No, the 2021 RFP, you sent us copies of that.
No, not the
No,
RFP, the findings.
The results.
Well, the results are irrelevant.
No, the results aren't irrelevant because the reason I was going to spend money is because the one we put together through our Climate Smart Community Task Force didn't really get the results we needed, and this other one had different eyes looking at it.
So maybe we could pitch it differently.
So I'd like to look to see if that one could be reused and save a couple $1,000s of taxpayer money.
But that one also allowed for battery storage facilities. It was
We will- we
ground
will-
mounted. It was a very different RFP.
Well, there's still some ground mounted I'd like to look at, and solar canopies. I think not ground mounted. There's still some solar canopies I'd like to look at, and I think that we could take another week, save the money, do the comparisons. Diana's trying to get me the information, and we could all look at that. And I think it's important that we. As you said, it's a difficult seat right now because we're talking about the budget, and you could talk about what your perception of the fund balance is until the cows come home, but the fact that we have tons of contractual obligations that are going to hurt our taxpayers, I think it's important to save everything that we can. So I will be as fiscally conservative as I can. And if we need to spend money, we're going to spend it on something that is going to be a huge help to the town. And might be that I come back and say, you know what, we're going to go with Sustainable Westchester, but I'm going to explore the other options and let that get sold to me. I think, is it next Wednesday or is it this Wednesday?
This Wednesday.
This Wednesday. So I will have an opportunity, hopefully, to talk about it tomorrow. And be with the people in our Climate Smart Community Task Force and get their opinion as well. So, you know what, Susan? I'd rather make an educated decision before spending the money.
Well, I think this has been months and months and months of discussion. It took forever to get the first RFP out, and then it's taken since July 1st when this board decided to re-advertise, which I agree with. We should have re-advertised, and I think you spoke to Warren Lucas, supervisor of North Salem, that got some competitive responses to an RFP that Sustainable Westchester held out. I think the town has to take control, and you as a supervisor have to take control, with all due respect for the Climate Smart Committee and its very dedicated volunteers. This cannot be left in the hands of a volunteer
Susan, let me
group.
ask you a question. In what part of what I just laid out did I say I am disbanding my responsibility?
Well, I hope that this gets done then.
I'm actually totally in control to make sure that we do the right thing for our taxpayers, which is my job.
I'm just
So-
confused. We're moving too fast. We're moving too slow.
We're moving too
we're
slow-
all over the
we're
map
moving too
here.
slow.
It's
All right,
so-
so I thank you. So now may I have our motion to adjourn? Actually, Rich, we can't. You could ask something from the side, but
After.
it's not an open meeting. I'm sorry.
I'll
Well,
make-
not a
You got to do the resolutions.
thing. I did the resolutions.
We
Oh,
voted.
we didn't
voted.
vote on them.
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
Yes, we did.
Oh, that's right. I second.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I have a motion to adjourn. Can I have a
Because then we have an
second?
interruption.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Good night, Yorktown.
Good night, Yorktown.